Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now we stay on the region. The Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan has stated that Hamas is ready to hand over control of Gaza to a Palestinian committee after meeting the ministers from Arab and Muslim nations seeking to advance the fragile ceasefire. Turkey's relations with Israel collapsed during the Gaza war, and it has been a harsh critic of Jerusalem, but also served as a key mediator of the tenuous 3-week-old ceasefire. Now this is pushing for Muslim nations to bring their influence to bear on the reconstruction and future governance of the embattled Gaza Strip. Earlier, the ceasefire was brokered by the U.S. President Donald Trump on October 10th, which halted the 2-year of war sparked by the Hamas-led October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. Now we go back to Yossi Cooper-Wasser for this discussion. Yossi, thank you for staying with us. How credible is Hamas's stated willingness to hand over control of Gaza to a Palestinian committee from Israel's security perspective?
Well, unfortunately, this is not enough. What Hamas is supposed to do, according to the plan that President Trump has endorsed and presented, is to disarm. It's not only giving up the civilian control of the Gaza Strip. They have to make sure that they don't pose any threat to Israel and to the stability of Gaza. And in order to do that, they are supposed to disarm and lay down their arms. If they do that, then we are talking about something serious. And unfortunately, this meeting led by the Turks did not specifically call for Hamas to lay down their arms. That's what is needed. And delivering the civilian control to other Palestinian hands is a part of the deal, but it's not the entire deal, and it's not enough. What we need to see happening is for Hamas to accept that they give up the weapons and that they don't pose any more threat of terror to Israel and to the stability of the Middle East. That's what we need to see. And they refuse to do that so far, because they are worried that this would mean, this would be seen as an admission by them that they lost the war, and that the 7th of October was a mistake, a terrible mistake for the people of Gaza, for Hamas itself, for the idea of getting rid of Israel and wiping it off the map, and so on and so forth. And because of that, they refuse to accept the idea that they have to disarm, even though they are supporting the plan, with the exception of this article that is the most important one.
Thank you very much, Yossi, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you. Now we stay on this topic. Egyptian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Tamim Khalaf has stated that an estimated $70 billion will be required for the reconstruction of Gaza following the devastating conflict that has left large parts of the Strip in ruins. He has stressed that this rebuilding effort will demand extensive international support and coordination to restore basic infrastructure, housing, and essential services for millions of displaced Palestinians. Khalaf has stated that Hamas recognizes it has no place in the future governance of Gaza, signaling a shift in regional diplomatic efforts towards establishing a new political framework that prioritizes stability, reconstruction, and representation of the Palestinian people through a more inclusive and accountable administration. Now we go back to Yossi Cooper-Wasser. He's an Israeli intelligence and security expert, joins us live from Tel Aviv. Thank you very much, Yossi, for staying with us. Now, looking at all the topics we have discussed today on this ceasefire, could the current ceasefire framework realistically lead to a sustainable security arrangement for Israel in Gaza?
Well, basically, yes, it could. If it is implemented properly, it can lead to much better situation for everybody, not only for Israel. This is the idea of that lies behind the plan. And this, again, as I said, is totally conditioned by the readiness of Hamas, not only to understand that it doesn't have a role in the civilian governance of Gaza City, of Gaza Strip, but it is depending on the readiness of Hamas to disarm altogether. And this has not been the case so far. As a matter of fact, they don't even show real readiness to give up the control of the civilian side, because they want to be deeply involved in depicting the people that are going to be members of the technocratic government that's going to rule Gaza. and they want to have an impact on the decisions taken there by getting involved in the overruling body that's going to be made of the Palestinians, and they want to be integrated into that. So I don't think that Hamas is really under the understanding that this is what needs to be done in order to make this plan implemented. I think that the Egyptians are talking about reconstruction and $70 billion that are going to be needed for that and all these kind of things. That's very nice. But, well, it's not going to happen as long as Hamas doesn't disarm, because this is the condition of any reconstruction. There's not going to be any reconstruction before Hamas is disarmed. And this is the plan. And we have to focus, and the Egyptians have to focus now, and together with the Turks and the Qataris who promised President Trump that this is going to happen, they have to focus on making sure that Hamas is disarmed. That's the condition that would allow us moving forward towards having a different leadership in Gaza City, technocratic leadership that is focused on improving the living conditions of the people of Gaza and not about wiping Israel off the map. And this would also allow the international community to move forward with the reconstruction effort.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Yossi Cooper-Wasser for staying with us and sharing that insight throughout our news. Now we move on. British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper has called for increasing humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, describing it as a crucial step towards achieving a genuine path to peace in the region. Cooper has stated that Israel has no excuse for delaying aid to Palestinians in Gaza and has called for a Jordanian route to be opened from a warehouse full of aid in the country. She has added that British aid, including food and shelter supplies, is also ready in warehouses and is waiting permission to enter Gaza. Cooper has emphasized the urgent need to open more crossings and lift restrictions on aid entry to enable the United Nations and NGOs to scale up their humanitarian efforts in the Gaza Strip. Now for this discussion, we welcome Peter Baum. He's a foreign editor at Weekly Blitz, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Peter, for joining us again. Good to see you. Peter, now looking at this, as a British minister, also we saw Egyptian ministers, the call for aid and the call for access to Gaza Strip increases. Is there any reliable, trustable organization that could be trusted for aid?
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Yes, there probably is, but not under the previous conditions where aid got through. In fact, Yvonne Cooper is being criticised for her statement. In the UK, she's now being criticised for those statements because where there is a real famine in Sudan, the British government has been eerily silent. Now we know from all the propaganda from October the 7th, the pro-Hamas propaganda being spewed by Al Jazeera and various other media outlets, including the BBC, that aid was still getting through, but we were seeing these false AI pictures of starving Palestinian children. However, when all the Palestinian hostages were released and we saw the joy on our global television screens of Palestinians surrounding the released Palestinian prisoners, not one of them was affected by famine. So the idea that sufficient aid is not getting through to the Palestinian territories is actually a false narrative that's kept being played over and over again by politicians to placate a domestic audience. We've also known in the past that the foreign aid, billions of dollars of foreign aid that has been given by Western countries and countries such as Qatar, the wealthy Arab states, has gone in to line the pockets of the Palestinian leadership, whether it's the PA or the Hamas leadership, who have billions of dollars stashed away in Qatari and Turkish bank accounts. So which organisation has been responsible for delivering aid has been facilitating corruption. And at the moment, the Israelis and the Americans certainly do not trust UNRWA, the organisation that for 70 years has facilitated such corruption. So therefore, there needs to be a different mechanism. Now, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was one mechanism, but naturally that was criticised because it broke the business model of the UNRWA of facilitating aid. So somehow Trump and the Israelis, together with the good faith actors, Egypt and Turkey, have to come to a decision as to which organisation or organisations they are going to use to start delivering aid today. Now, it's still being done by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, but UNRWA still want to play a part. And actually, there should be no room for UNRWA until the corrupt leaders of that organisation are brought to account.
Right. Thank you very much, Peter, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving on, Lebanese President Joseph